Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Yeah.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of can. I can make it round the world when it holds in your hand. Popcorn world. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Furniture Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
As I was told as we were coming on, this is not Cash Cab. This is BLEAV in the ACC. It's a different show.
It's not.
Don't get confused because you see Charlie Ward in the car. It's not the same show.
It's not.
But we are glad to see you there.
It's not Taxi Cab Confessions.
It's not Taxi Cab Confessions. It's none of those things. It's BLEAV in the ACC, and we're glad to be here with you. Happy Combine Day, as the Combine kicks off today with the we'll find out who the fastest defensive linemen and linebackers are today at 3:00. So that'll be fun to see who sets their draft path in order today. And I want to start in a weird place. Because we're going to be talking bracketology today, and we're going to get to all of that. We got the two bracketologies going there to talk about who's in, who's out, whatever. But all week long, there's been some conversations that are, dare I say, ACC worthy. And in particular, there is a conversation about one quarterback that is near and dear to our hearts, young Drake May from North Carolina. I don't know if either of you heard the comments by Merrill Hodge, who I'm always entertained by Merrill Hodge comments because they are so wild sometimes. You go, wow, Merrill, do you just hate people that play football now? Like, what's going on? But I don't know if I disagree with him this time. He said that he would not take Drake May in the first round. He talked about a lot of the inconsistencies. He talked about a lot of his footwork wasn't the greatest. He kind of ripped him a little bit, Drake May. And some people have come to his defense, namely Tim Hasselbeck, who says Drake May is one of the most talented quarterbacks he's ever seen, which I was like, hey, pump your brakes, brother. We're not saying that, but how do you guys feel about Drake? The quarterback, not the rapper.
I felt like both of them were like two on the extremes on both sides of their analysis. Like talking about he's one of the most talented quarterbacks he's ever seen. Like you said, pump the brakes on that.
Right.
And Merrill Hodge made it sound like he's a linebacker playing quarterback. And I'm like, it's not that either.
Right.
The analysis can be in the middle somewhere. So I think Drake May is a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I think with the right system, he can be a serviceable quarterback. I think he's pretty good. I think he's better than Sam Howell was. But
no question.
I
No question about that.
I lobbed that one up for
you. You did. I tried to Otis or Garcia that thing on out of there. I really did.
but at the same time, it's just like we're in a hot take world, but
we are in a hot take world.
The takes were just so extreme. It's like, and I'm like, I don't think Drake May is a bad quarterback, but he's far from polarizing, and there's no way should he be this polarizing heading into the combine.
Well, it was interesting because of all the quarterbacks that I think are far more polarizing, for them to land on Drake May, I was like, really? I don't think he's that complicated, but we have a guy who did play quarterback at the highest level in college football. I'm curious to know what he thinks about Drake May.
But I didn't get drafted.
Well, that's because of stupidity, not because of talent.
Right. Right. Come out today.
Right.
Drake May to me is a wild card. You know, I think Kendrick, you guys are spot on. He's somewhere in the middle. Like, he's not what they both said in some form fashion. He's kind of in the middle.
Right.
And the thing that you have to look at is, which we should be, what most people look at is upside. You know, what is his upside? Because, you know, if you're talking about his footwork and all of that, I mean, that's stuff that you can work on and fix. But when you talk about arm talent, and, you know, if he's throwing the ball to the right guy, if he's accurate, those are the things that you need to focus on. And to me, I mean, he has qualities where he's throwing the ball to the right guy, you know, consistently, and, you know, he can hit his target. And so those are the qualities that you should be looking at. Some of the stuff people talk about that you can work on or fix in you know, 2 or 3 months. I mean, that stuff that's for the birds. But if they can't hit their targets, or they throwing the ball to the wrong guy, that's stuff that's hard to, you know, fix in a few months. And so, and then sometimes they just need time as well, maybe in a good system. But I think he was in a good system at UNC. They have preparing for the NFL.
I think Drake May is a tale of two seasons. There's the pre-Tez Walker season, and then there's the post-Tez Walker season. And it kind of reminds you, and this is, I'm not comparing him to him by any stretch of the imagination, because I actually think he's way better than this guy. But it kind of reminds you of Johnny Manziel. You couldn't get a good read on Johnny Manziel because Mike Evans was so good, and so he covered up all of Johnny Manziel's mistakes and sins. So when you finally got a chance to see Johnny Manziel, you're like, oh, you're not that good. Okay. So that's the revelation. So maybe that's what Drake May is. Maybe he is not as accurate as you think he is, because he was throwing to guys like Tez Walker who are ridiculously talented, and I think, but you know, also ridiculously underrated. So we're gonna see here. I don't think he's a day one starter. Now I'll say that right now. But I do think the kid could play. And I heard Damian Woody came out with something today that I thought was really good. He said, man, you know what would be perfect for him is to go to somewhere like the Rams, where he could sit behind a guy like Matthew Stafford for a year or two and learn the game and then come out. I said, wow, that's a really good place to go. And he doesn't have to come in with that pressure, because I don't think he's a day one starter. And I think if you throw him to the Lions, I feel like he's the kind of kid that might not make it back. You know, he's got I saw a little Zach Wilson in him this year, so I'm a little concerned that he might not make it back from failure, if that's, you know, if I can say it that way.
That's what annoys me with a lot of the analysis around the combine, which is I typically tune the combine out, to be honest with you. Is like the analysis is always like they're a finished product. Like they can't fix footwork at some point in their career. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
all over. Just
yeah,
the bus.
Like, he can't read defenses. I'm like, when he doesn't have to go to class and he's football 24 hours, he could probably pick up some
things. Learn to read a defense. Yeah.
It's always like they're a finished product.
If you're paying him $1 million to do it, he could probably learn it.
Right.
I still said he can pick up.
He's a finished product, and like their tape means nothing, especially a quarterback. Now, the other positions, they don't scrutinize them as much, but at the quarterback position, like their tape means nothing. Everything comes down to the combine, and so that's why I usually typically tune the combine out.
Yeah, I mean,
now
if you conversation the other day, yesterday, about just our players, our basketball players, and how colleges, sometimes evaluate, but more importantly, how the kids see themselves and how they think that they need to prove that they can shoot. And I'm like, man, you don't have to prove that you can shoot. I mean, you just need to make a few shots here and there on the things that you don't do well, but soar in your strengths. And allow them to, there's things that you can work on that your weaknesses are. But I said people get picked up all the time. I mean, you look at the NBA draft, every year they're choosing, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
And those guys aren't finished products. They see upside. And so that is what you have to, a good evaluator is going to see those attributes, characteristics that they can continue to develop, and they see further than where they are right now.
Well, speaking of that, if you want a hot take, here's one for you. To me, Drake May is not even close to being the most controversial quarterback to take in the draft. For me, it's Caleb Williams, and it's not because of what he did on the field. It's because of what he does off. There were several games this season that gave me tremendous pause because of the way he responded in losses.
Yeah, not talking to the media and stuff.
Not talking to the media. Oh, I'm going to go home and play with my dogs. And weird. 3 times he crawled up in the stands and, hugged his mom in tears. And I'm like, okay, bro, I understand you're emotional, but you're about to go play with grown men. They don't want to see you climbing in the stairs with your mom. So to me, that gives me more pause than what Drake May is doing, because it speaks to maybe some maturity issues. Like, can he handle being the leader of men? And he feels a lot more Kyler Murray than he does CJ Stroud. So that's what I think would give me pause. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking at if I'm drafting a quarterback. My number one thing is probably going to be, is this a leader of men? Because you're the default leader of men in that locker room, whether you want to be or not. And so our guy's going to respect this guy because he comes to work every day. He gives you what he has on and off the field, and he's mature enough to handle all the situations that go. Because listen, here's the reality. You're coming to a losing team because we're not good. So you got to be able to handle the not good for a year or two, possibly, before we turn the page or we turn the corner. And if you can't handle that, the one thing that you can say about Bryce Young, and I'll let you guys jump in here, is that I never saw him pout. I never saw him in the media throwing a fit. I never saw him not show up and give his best effort every game. So while everybody else is trying to say he's maybe a bust or he didn't have the greatest season, I thought his season was fine. They got a lot to fix in Carolina. It ain't starting with the owner, but as far as his play, he did the best he could under really adverse circumstances. I'm concerned about, can Caleb do the same?
I can see where you arrive at that at. I don't know. I'm not, looking at it from a distance. Because the pouting and the going home and playing with his dog's comment, I kind of felt like he was just kind of trolling this at that point.
He may have been, but it's not a great comment.
It's not a great look, because you wonder, because like you didn't hear all this stuff last year,
right?
And so like coming in this year, defending Heisman Trophy winner. You've got the Dr. Pepper commercials and all that stuff. And so the spotlight was bigger on him this year. So I wonder if he had a little bit of trouble handling that. But at the same time,
and the wheels fell off this year.
Yeah. And basically, I mean, USC just wasn't very good this year anyway.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The wheels fell off this year.
On the defensive side of the ball. Offense was okay. Offense was fine. I mean, he was fine this year. It wasn't like he had a bad season. But you just wonder about off the field, how much he can handle stuff. But again, it goes back to my earlier point, though. It's like he's not a finished product. He's still a
not
kid.
A finished product. Yeah.
So that's maturity. That's something that can develop as he grows on. And you just wonder how you do want to have questions on how he's going to handle the scrutiny. But at the same time, he's going to a bad team, and the media spotlight's not going to be on him as much when they're terrible.
Well, you hope he can handle the maturity. That's the X factor. You hope he can handle the maturity. That's the one that you go, because it has not worked out in Arizona yet. Like Kyler is.
He was pretty good this year when he finally came back.
He did. He was better than he's been. That's for sure.
And that speaks to maturity.
Yeah, Charlie, what do you think?
I mean, all that's, some media training.
Yeah.
You think it's that simple?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it.
Okay.
The guy can play on the field. I mean, he led his team, kept his team in games a lot this year.
For sure.
And, from the standpoint of just, immaturity, I think we've all had those moments and times where we've had to grow. And, like I said, a little media training, understanding, that role. I don't think that's a big issue for him anyway. I'm more concerned maybe with, the parent.
That's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing.
More so than the child. Just because, I mean, we've seen it play out in Memphis, with a very similar type of, case. And I don't think Caleb is that extreme when it comes to, him falling off the rails and going and doing what John Morant did to put himself behind the 8 ball in a lot of ways. I don't see that happening. But just the parent dynamic, you started to see a little bit of that in the balls case.
Yeah.
But now, it's not much in the way of that anymore, as much as it was when they were coming out and in the limelight and those types of things. And so I just think, sometimes you just need time for that. But again, it goes back to your evaluation. Can the man help you win? Can he play? And then the other stuff like the media training stuff you can work on.
Yeah.
And
you hire people for that.
Yeah. Eventually the dad will, move out of the way. Of course, they'll still have the comments and those things because of social media, access. But I mean, I would choose him if I was going to.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Charlie. So stay right there. That was going to be my next question, Charlie. I want to come back to you.
And shout out to Lonzo Ball, because Lonzo never been. If you really go back and look at it, Lonzo never really fed into his. He didn't. He was always the more mature one. So I've always respected Lonzo Ball.
100%. 100%. But I do want to come back to you, Charlie and Kendrick, because the Bears on the clock, and they got a massive decision to make by probably Sunday, and that decision is: do you go with the kid? And by the way, he's not throwing at this combine. The only thing you're gonna be able to do with Caleb at this combine is have a conversation. Now,
I don't blame him for that.
It'll be the most important conversation in Ryan Poole's career.
You
but
got 2 years of tape. You don't need to throw.
Well,
you got 2 years of tape.
I hear you. But we've had that same 2 years of tape on a lot of guys, and it's cost people their careers. We had that.
What happens in Indianapolis ain't going to change what happened.
No, I agree.
Well, but I guess
he'll throw at some point. I mean, he's going to throw at some point.
Yeah, he'll throw privately.
He's going to throw at some point. Although I'm never putting a lot. If I'm being honest, I don't put as much stock in the home throws as I do in the combine, because at least the home throws are completely scripted, and you're throwing to your guys. But when you go throw at the combine, you got to make something happen. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But that's not even the question. The question is, do you even do this? If you're Chicago, you got Justin Fields. Do you make this move for Caleb? Like, what would make you make this move, Charlie and Kendrick?
The only thing I would say is, if I drafted him, I would have to have a plan of being able to trade him for some other pieces, because I'm sure Justin Fields. Justin Fields, Caleb Williams. Draft him first and then see what you can get. I mean, not see what you can get, but hopefully you will have a plan to be able to trade him to someone.
You talking about this year?
Yes, because you need because they need more than just a quarterback.
They do. And so, I haven't heard this take. This is an interesting take.
That would be my take. I think Justin Fields, to me, is young enough, and he's like a transporter guy.
Yeah.
So he gives you the youth and the experience that you need, even when you're trying to turn the organization around. And he hasn't been bad like that, to where you got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that's what I would do. I would choose Caleb Williams and then trade him for some veteran players. I don't know how that works. I know how it works in football, but I know that's what I would try to do, because that's
interesting, Charlie.
Even if some of the players, you're still going to be getting young players, but you may, I don't know. I think you should trade the pick.
That is interesting, Charlie. And let me tell you why. Because right when you said that, and I have not heard that take anywhere, by the way. So we got our own hot take going here. Two teams came to mind immediately. The Buffalo Bills, who are having some Stephon Diggs issues as far as, chemistry. For some reason, he doesn't seem to want to connect to Josh Allen.
You're not going to trade a number one pick for Stephon Diggs.
You are. Well, here's what I'm saying. It's about the haul. Going back to what Charlie said, it's about the haul. What else can I get? Now, I'm not saying just Stephon Diggs. I'm saying bring me your tithes and your offering.
You better get Von Miller too. You better get Von Miller too.
That's what I'm saying. Bring me your tithes and offerings. I'm saying bring me everything. Draft picks, player. But the other person that would be interesting to me is Mike Evans, because with him being a free agent, if you're Tampa Bay, you can't afford to lose this guy for nothing. So maybe there's some kind of sign and trade situation that you can.
I think they may. I don't. I mean, while
I like the take though, Charlie. I like it a lot.
While it's crazy to think that Tampa Bay may pass up on the number one pick to keep Baker Mayfield, but I think they're all in on Baker Mayfield. I keep waffling back and forth on it, because on the one hand, I really do like Justin Fields.
I do too.
As a Cowboy fan, I'm like, I'll take Justin Fields right now.
I love Justin Fields. I love it. Yeah.
But for the Bears, on the financial side, I can see why you would do it, because you reset that rookie contract clock. So that's the part of it that makes the most sense for me, as far as going ahead and trading Justin Fields and drafting Caleb. But I mean, like I said, Justin Fields has been fine. He's been really good considering what they have around him, the circus that is the Bears organization, an organization that literally has never had a good quarterback.
Never had a great quarterback. Right.
And so,
right. Or never developed one. Yeah.
Right. I mean, as low as a hurdle as it is, he was on track to be the best Bears quarterback ever. Even though
it still may be. Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm
that hurdle is like 2 feet tall.
No, it's not that. I'm gonna tell you something. I lean a little bit more to what Charlie's saying because I understand exactly what you're saying about the resetting the financial part of it. That makes from a financial part that makes complete sense. The problem is that you're giving up a probability for a possibility.
Right.
And I don't know if that makes sense. Like, you know what Justin Fields potentially can be if you put the right pieces around him. You have no idea what Caleb Williams, he may be that guy, he may not be. But the money that you save, you also set your franchise back 4 or 5 years if he's not what you thought he was going to be. So then you're back where you started. So,
but the opposite argument, I mean, the devil's advocate to your argument,
sure,
is we still don't 100% know what Justin Fields is going to be. What if he turns out to not be that? Now you've really set you set your organization back, and you're gonna have to pay Justin Fields a bunch of money next year.
Yeah,
I can see both sides of the argument. I really
can see it. I just think
at the end of the day,
bird in the hand might be worth more than the two in the bush. But I don't know. I've not heard anyone say what Charlie said: draft him and then trade him. And I think that makes as much sense as pre-trading him because he gets the honor of still being the first pick in the draft, and you still get the haul. Like it's either way it works. So it's an interesting take, Charlie. You may have swayed me on this one.
I'm thinking about the Bucks.
I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if
it might not be possible. I agree with you, Charlie, but
I think the NBA works like that, but I don't think the NFL does. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
But I like to take nonetheless. I really do. So it's interesting. Shout out to Jared Verse, who's my favorite defensive lineman, who will run today and hopefully run himself right into the first round. I'm rooting for that kid. I really love him to death.
I'm rooting for him to run his way into Dallas.
No. That's not where he needs to go.
I don't care where he needs to go.
That's not where I
want him to go. I'm talking about me.
Look, one thing about the combine, boy, it makes you selfish. That it's like, I need him. We need him. So it's gonna be a fun day. Day one of the.
Hey, I don't sleep. Don't sleep on my other Seminole defensive lineman.
Hey, I'll take like 2 or 3 of them Seminoles defensive.
I was gonna say, y'all got some players. I'm okay with several of your guys putting on New York Giants uniform.
Braden Fisk.
Yes. Also another steal.
There's quite a few people on that Seminoles roster that I would not mind seeing in that blue and silver.
I think they're going to play themselves into higher positions today. They're better. They're a much better defense than people think that they are. And a lot of names have been elevated above them that don't necessarily deserve the publicity and the positioning that they've gotten. So, all right, gentlemen, let's get into it. We got some bracketology, and I want to start with the women. I know normally we start with the men, but I want to start with the women because, quite honestly, they're more interesting.
The race to the top is a little bit more interesting.
It's way more interesting. And let me start this. A shout out to the great Charlie Cream, who does an outstanding job every year.
I have a question about the bracketology.
Well, talk to us, Charlie.
How do these people know?
They have formulas.
That's a great question, Charlie.
Well, the ESPN bracketology is not as accurate for the men as other ones, but they have their formulas. It's like math formulas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Charlie Cream as it relates to the women, and normally the women's is relatively easier to do.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry usually.
Right. Now this year, admittedly, it's a lot harder because though South Carolina is the most dominant team, there are other teams that are potentially as good, maybe not, if not better. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. As you see, they got South Carolina as the overall number 1 seed. First team out is Vanderbilt. Last team in is Auburn.
Very SEC.
Here's your bubble team. And as you can see, there are no ACC teams on the bubble. So that means that the ACC teams in Charlie Crean's mind, the ones that are qualifying are either in or they're all the way out. No middle ground right now.
It's the ladies, right?
Ladies,
That's
yeah.
ladies.
Yeah, it's the ladies. Now, that could change with the tournament, possibly, and with this last week of play, but as of right now, this is how he sees it. So when you go into it, he's got South Carolina going to Albany 1. He's got Ohio State going to Albany 2. He's got Florida State in the Albany 2 bracket, Miami in the Albany 1 bracket, Syracuse taking a 5 seed.
Why they make it so difficult with Albany 1 and Albany 2? Why?
I know, I hate that. I hate it. I can't stand it. NC State is a 3, and I think that's it on that side.
So what's the Albany 1 and Albany 2?
I guess Albany, New York, I'm assuming.
That's right. That's where the regional is.
Yeah.
I guess they're having 2 regionals in the same.
Yeah, they're having 2 regionals, one in Albany, New York, and the other in Portland, which is, to me, the most random places that you can. I don't understand that at all, but I don't understand how women's basketball is put together.
I will say that as someone who's actually been to that Albany arena, because Louisville played there a few years ago.
Oh, yeah?
It is a nice arena.
It's nice. Okay.
It's nice. Right. And you can walk around. It's cold, but you can walk around to get to wherever you need to get and all that.
Is there a centralized component that is making this a destination point? Because it seems so random.
Hold on, for one. Never in the history of the world has Albany been considered a destination point.
That's what I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand. Like,
I don't know. I'm guessing they made the bid and they won the bid.
Is Albany known for its fine dining? Like, how do we arrive at Albany?
It is because people outside the state of New York think everything in New York is close to New York City, and it is not.
Albany is not.
It's closer to Syracuse.
Right. A whole other side. So anyway, you got Virginia Tech pulling out a number 2 seed in there. So that would put Virginia Tech against Ohio State in that bracket. That would put South Carolina with a chance to meet, for our purposes, NC State as a 3 seed.
Oh, that would be great.
I really like Virginia Tech's route right there.
The Rivers girl, a lady gets to play against her old team.
Well, gotta feed the TV show, Charlie. That's how this works. So,
and that regional up there,
yeah,
Indiana versus South Carolina could be very interesting. Indiana is really good. They have weird losses, but they only have like 3 or 4 losses. They had that bad loss at Illinois, but they smacked Caitlin Clark in Iowa.
I was just going to say, didn't they just beat Caitlin Clark and those guys?
They got blown out at Illinois earlier that week, but it was a weird start time for that game. That game was at like 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. I don't know what was going on, and they got blown out there. But then they came home and they blew out Iowa and Caitlin Clark. I mean, it was a blowout from the opening tip. So Indiana's a team that's scary good. That's probably a little bit underrated because of the losses they have, but they only have like 3 or 4 losses.
Well, let's look at because you said they blew out Iowa. Where?
And it was in Bloomington, but they're still
okay. So that's an issue when you talk about the tournament, because most times, especially when you start playing in the regional, I mean, I think you may have a home game.
Their first 2 games would be at home.
Yeah, so they're not playing like top competition at home. But once they get to a certain point, you know, if they play well on the road, then that's something totally different. But
And they have, like I said, they only have
That'd be interesting.
like 3 or 4 losses. So you know they've gone on the road and won games too. I'm not saying they would beat South Carolina by any
what are they ranked?
Oh,
Now,
Let's find out.
let's find out. I know. I think they're like 15 or 16, I believe. But but like I said, they're a team that can be dangerous.
I would have to agree. They are, they're 4 losses. They're ranked 14th in the AP and 12th in the coaches. So, I mean, listen, I saw them play once. Yeah, they're a solid squad. And again, this is matchups. It's like you only got to be good that day. So
right.
you know, you don't have to win a tournament. It's not a best out of 5. Let's go to the Portland side of this thing. Texas and Stanford are the number 1 seeds in that on that side. One's in Austin, the other's in Stanford. That puts let's see, I'm looking for us.
Louisville's in stores.
Notre Dame in Boulder, which is interesting because Boulder I wonder if Boulder's gonna be able to hold on to Boulder. Well, I guess do they have that no matter what? Is that how it works?
It could probably change.
Or does it change if Notre Dame flips the 4?
It would change.
It would change. So Notre Dame has a shot, I think, probably to get that if they have a pretty solid ACC, and then Colorado somehow tanks it or whatever. Louisville's in stores, but that's not necessarily a bad bracket for them. Like, because you're talking about a not so healthy UConn, a shaky Kansas, a shaky Auburn.
Just wondered because UConn smoked Louisville earlier this season in stores,
but that was fully healthy.
Yeah,
right.
Louisville's isn't playing so well right now either.
That's true. That's also true. North Carolina is the 6th seed in this one, and they'd be headed to Baton Rouge. Duke is the 7th seed, and they'd be in Iowa City. So this is an interesting bracket as well.
You're talking about the TV show. Notice that they kind of set it up for Caitlin Clark to either have UConn or a rematch with Louisville in the regional.
Oh, for sure. Oh, the TV show is in full effect. He's either going to play Louisville, UConn, or Baylor or Stanford. That's where the TV show is headed for sure. Mm-hmm. And then if she happens to get through all of that, her reward will be Virginia Tech
or Ohio State.
Where's LSU? I didn't see LSU. Did I miss them? They're over here.
I'm sitting here pointing at the screen like we sitting huh? I'm sitting here pointing at the screen like we sitting here.
Right. But this is an interesting bracket.
Wow, LSU a 3 seed. Wow.
That sounds about right to me, though.
Really?
Now, could they listen? I think USC is solidly in as a 2.
Who are the other 2s?
Iowa.
What happens to UCLA?
UCLA the 2.
Oh, they are?
So that
in this bracket, in this, they're the 2 in South Carolina's bracket. Virginia Tech is the 2 in Ohio State's bracket. Iowa is the 2 in Stanford's bracket, and USC is the 2 in Texas bracket.
See, I think USC has an opportunity to jump up to that number 2 line because for one, they can beat LSU, and two,
Well,
I mean,
USC
they could
is
beat
the two.
UCLA. I mean, they could beat UCLA, and I think if they win their conference, and Virginia Tech trips up in the ACC tournament, then I think LSU will move up to that 2 line.
You think USC could get to the 1?
No,
And take Stanford's spot?
if they beat them in the Pac-12 tournament,
If they can beat them in the Pac, that's possible. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get, listen, I actually love that more, because what I'd love to see is a Juju Watkins, Caitlin Clark, Elite Eight.
They're on the opposite side. They're on the opposite side, right?
That would definitely be.
They wouldn't be.
Yeah, they are. Well, it'll be the semifinal. Yeah, no, that'd be the final.
Well, it depends on if they would keep them.
If it stayed like it is now,
so, right? The Portland 4. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Charlie?
I said that would definitely be a big TV show.
Mm-hmm.
If you get those two playing against one another,
because
9 times out of 10 they're gonna keep them on the opposite side of the brackets.
Juju's coming for all of Caitlin's stuff.
Let me tell you something. I've had a chance to see Juju play now a few times. I am thoroughly convinced she's the best women's basketball player in the country. And I'm not sure it's close. And that's no disrespect to Caitlin. Caitlin is a phenomenal shooter, maybe the greatest women's shooter we've ever seen. But top to bottom basketball player, Juju Watkins is a problem.
Yeah.
Absolute problem.
I don't think I'm quite ready to say she's better than Caitlin yet, but she's definitely on the trajectory.
Well,
if Caitlin stays another year, then I mean she's gonna separate herself.
Yeah,
which I doubt if she stays another year, but she may. But I mean, Juju, she's special.
She's special, man.
Just like her doggo. It's amazing. Not amazing, but you're starting to see these young, like early freshmen starting to rise up and play at a high level. And
it is amazing.
I think a lot of that goes back to the grassroots organizations where they're getting these opportunities early to play against high-level competition now. With all the different programs that USA basketball has, you're starting to see, the young ladies given these, playing high-level basketball early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think women's basketball right now, top to bottom, is far and away better than the men. And I'm talking skill-wise. I'm talking competition-wise.
I say
I am going to go that far. I'm going to go that far. And the reason why I say that is because of just what Charlie said. They're getting more out of these AAU, these travel team experiences, far more than what the men are getting. And it's translating to college sports, which is it's not translating the same way with the men. The men aren't coming in like Bronny James is skilled. He's just not.
Have you
he
watched
just don't
Rob
have
Dillingham?
the extra stuff that comes along with his skill yet.
Have you watched Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd in Kentucky? I mean, yeah, that is. Bronny James is not exactly the example to be going by because he was overrated coming out of high school.
But he was a McDonald's All-American. That's my point.
Because of his daddy. Bronny James would not have been a McDonald's All-American if he wasn't LeBron's kid. I mean,
my point.
There's no disrespect to Bronny James. I think he's under way too much scrutiny. But that's what that is. But I'm not going to make that leap as far as the skill and all that.
I think both. Like I said, I was since we were talking to the ladies. I was just giving them their props. I'm not going to go to that extreme. I think that's extreme. I think that's. I mean, you're saying they're far better.
Yeah,
I don't see that. I'm just saying. I'm just giving the young ladies their props that we're seeing more.
Yeah.
Young ladies playing at a high level early than we've had before.
More than the men. That's what we're saying.
No, but here's the difference. Here's my difference.
Okay.
There's still gonna be probably what'd you say, about 85% one and dones in the NBA draft? Outside of Juju Watkins, name another one and done in women's basketball.
I'm not sure she's a one and done.
She could be.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
But again, that's to my point though. You even with her, you're like, I don't think she could be a one and done. It's still littered with one and dones in the men's side.
But I don't know if there's a lot of one and dones in men's basketball this year. Like listen, the NBA draft this year is going to look real foreign because it looks like the first 5 picks are going to all be guys from Europe.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, like I said, and granted, it is because I see them every night. But Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham. Those dudes are one and done.
They're one and done.
and are amazing. And then we're not even talking about what's the elite, what's the ones, the kids that don't go to college. And so, yeah, I would say while the women's game is getting better, there's more parity than it has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. No, I'm not going to say they're more skilled or there's more competition in the women's game.
I'm going to stand on that business
because here's my other thing. Here's my other thing when argument when it comes to that is when you look at the women's game and the men's game. Still, even though there is a lot more parity in the women's game now, there's still only like 5 or 6 teams you think can actually win the national championship. This year in men's basketball is wide open.
You don't think there's 5 or 6 this year in the women's?
LSU, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Maybe Iowa, Stanford.
I would put USC in that conversation.
Yes, because they have Juju. I mean,
because they got Juju. Exactly.
If she can take over a game as we've seen and elevate her team.
We're at 5.
Okay. Did we say Virginia Tech?
I don't believe in Virginia Tech.
Only reason I believe in Virginia Tech because in a one and done scenario,
they're too
in the right bracket and the right bracketology, they can win the thing.
They're so inconsistent though.
They inconsistently got to the Final Four last year. They were just as inconsistent last year. They got to the Final Four.
They do have some quality pieces that can, get them to that level.
So I would say there's 7 or 8. I would say there's 7 or 8 teams.
But on the men's side, it's like 20.
But I don't know if that's because they're good. I think it's just because we're talking
about parity.
Right. There's extreme parity on the men's side. And part of that is because I think the play of the men is just not as strong.
The talent is just more. It's still the talent is still more dispersed. It's gotten better in the women's game
because there's only 3 teams.
More dispersed.
There's only 3 teams on the men's side that I think can win. We're at the men's bracketology now, so this is a perfect time to bring the men up. We can talk about this from a real place.
Yeah.
The top overall seed is going to be Purdue, according to Joe Lunardi. Now, this is wrong every year.
I don't believe in Purdue at all. Yeah, Lunardi's wrong all the time.
Yeah, he's wrong all the time.
I don't believe in Purdue at all.
I don't either.
Is Houston in the mix?
Houston to me is the best team in the country to me.
Right. To me, Houston should be the top overall seed. Now, why they're not, I don't know. But he's still got Purdue here. So and then his last
update is Dills.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he just hasn't updated yet. But he's got the last 4 buys as being Wake Forest, Texas, Nevada, New Mexico. He thinks Wake Forest has played themselves, I guess, in.
That win over Duke did that.
Right.
Like I said, he hadn't updated because they just lost.
They just lost, so I don't understand why
they did lose to a Notre Dame team that's won 4 of their last 5.
Right,
games.
Notre Dame is playing spoiler right now. So
Notre Dame's playing really well right now.
Yeah. Then he's got Virginia in.
Alert. Who is their best player?
Who you talking about? Virginia?
Notre Dame.
Shrewsbury.
Oh yeah.
No.
Who is it, Charlie?
The freshman.
Yeah, the coach's son.
No, the Burke. Is it Burke?
Oh, you like Burke?
The point guard. What's the point guard's name?
Number
3. He's going to be ACC Rookie of the Year.
I'm drawing a blank here.
To me, he's their best player.
He's the best player, far and away, in your opinion.
Yeah, he's a true freshman, I do believe.
I said Notre Dame is playing really well right now. They are. While it looks like a bad loss for Wake Forest, it's not as bad.
No.
Well, it depends on how they choose to look at it in the room. Like in the room, they're going to say it's bad because they're probably quad four.
But Notre Dame is won 4 of their last 5 games, and the one loss they had a huge comeback at Syracuse.
No, listen. I agree with what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying in their minds. Is it Marcus Burton? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Marcus Burton.
Marcus Burton. Yeah. That's what. Okay, I couldn't.
The coach's son's pretty good too.
Yeah, he is.
So, I think maybe Joe hasn't updated his stuff, and maybe that's why it looks like it looks now. Because it looks crazy right now. Because to me, it's Houston, and everybody's chasing Houston, right, including UConn. But right now, he's got Purdue coming out the Midwest, UConn in the East, and our ACC
into the Final Four.
Well, he's got them placed in the East and Midwest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then our ACC teams that are there. Well, do we have any ACC teams going to either place?
Nope.
It doesn't appear so. Let's see. North Carolina. He's got North Carolina headed to
Charlotte, of course.
To the East. Charlotte, right. Charlotte as the 2 seed.
They always play in Charlotte.
Always in Charlotte. Oh, and Virginia. He's got Virginia barely getting playing on Tuesday against Seton Hall in Memphis. So, and as an 11 seed.
So they are playing. Okay.
They're playing. So, and then in the West and Dallas, he's got Houston as the 1 seed in the South and Arizona as the 1 seed in the West, which would put, let's see, Duke as the 3 seed.
There's Clemson as a 5 in Spokane.
Clemson as a 5 on the other side. And that's it. So he's saying only 5 ACC teams are getting in.
5.
Yeah, he's got Wake Forest in as a 10, solidly in as a 10, which is interesting because I would think they'd probably fall in the play-in line, but he's got them actually in.
They beat Duke. That's why he's putting more weight on them beating Duke than losing to Notre Dame.
I would think that potentially, depending on how they play the ACC tournament, that could change.
Yeah.
Because if they go out early in the ACC tournament,
they'll be on the bubble.
They'll be on the bubble.
They'll be on the bubble.
Yeah, they'll be on the bubble.
I like that Wake Forest team, though. It's weird because I do like that team.
They're an interesting team. Because the
way they're constructed, all 5 positions.
Right. The way they're constructed and the way they run their offense, if they catch fire, they're going to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see if they'll be able to catch some momentum going into these last couple of weeks.
So he has Kentucky and Salt Lake.
He's got Kentucky going all the way out to Salt Lake. In a favorable bracket that
they can come out of it. They can come out of it.
A favorable bracket that John Calipari will say he can't stand.
Oh yeah, John, let him tell it. They're playing in the Western Conference.
Right. What's your thoughts, guys, on only 5 teams coming out for
that sounds about right to
the
me.
ACC and also the 5 that they got going in?
I agree with it.
I think Virginia's got to at least win 2 rounds in the ACC tournament. They can't have any stumbles.
Who's that?
Virginia.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They can't have any stumbles. And that might also be true for Virginia Tech, too. I don't know. I mean, not Virginia Tech. I'm sorry, Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I think Wake. It kind of feels like Wake Forest might have more leeway than Virginia. Than Virginia. But
So check this out.
Okay.
right.
We have Virginia at 12-6
Yeah.
in the ACC. We have Clemson 10-7. Wake Forest 10-7. Syracuse 10-8. Pitt 9-8. NC State 9-8. Florida State 9-8. So you have
And a week ago.
The only issue is, the overall average. Overall record.
Right.
For some are a little bit different. But there's like a log jam because they got like 3 or 4 more games left.
Yeah.
And any of those middle teams can get to the to that next 8, like the top 4 or the top 4.
I think.
But even that can go either way if Clemson.
Was Clemson in there? I can't remember. Did they have Clemson?
Clemson's in. And I think they had them as a 5 seed.
I think the cutoff line is.
Let me go back and see real quick.
If Syracuse would have to go on a serious run, like get to the ACC championship to get there, I think.
There's a lot of teams.
Maybe Clemson is not in there. Hold on, I could be wrong.
They're 5 in Spokane.
Yeah.
So there's a log. There could be a log jam if, let's just say, 2 of the teams in the middle win and two or 3 of the teams in the middle lose.
Yeah.
It won't be a big standing in the NCAA tournament, but the ACC tournament, it would be a big change.
I think the only team, just looking at that, I think Syracuse and Pittsburgh have opportunities to play their way into the NCAA tournament, but that's it, I think.
But to that same point, Clemson Wake can't have any stumbles.
Right.
Like they gotta finish the job.
I think Clemson has some wiggle room at 20-8. I think they.
I don't know, man. And by the way, I think Clemson has played well and has the type of wins that should put them in. But a first round exit in the ACC tournament is not a good look. Yeah. And that might put them in a play-in situation.
It could.
So it's not. We got a lot yet to decide here in this last week.
Oh yeah.
Charlie, do you think your Seminoles can go on a run and make it in?
They play Georgia Tech this weekend.
That should be a win.
But it's out on the road, and that hadn't been.
It has not gone well.
No, that's been hit or miss.
Yeah.
On the road, which you think you should win those games, but that is not always the case. And who else? I think they had a good win the other night against NC State, which was big for us. I'm just looking at, so we got Georgia Tech at Pitt, which is another doozy. Pitt is, to me, Pitt is a solid team. And then
Pitt's playing for something. Pitt's playing for something.
Correct. Then we play Miami. So just for Coach Ham's, sanity, he needs to at least win 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah.
That'll put him at 17-14. and then he has to go on a run or some sort in the ACC tournament to, kind of save the season in a lot of ways, and hopefully they get a chance to play in the NIT or one of those type of tournaments if they choose to, and then try to go on a run in the NIT.
Who is the most likely save the season candidate? In other words, they could get hot, make an entire run to the ACC championship, win it, and upset the whole thing.
Syracuse.
Would that be Pittsburgh? Would that be Wake?
I would say Pittsburgh or Syracuse. Syracuse, I haven't really seen them play, but they look like they've been playing better.
They've played very well at home. Honestly, they've gotten a couple of calls in a couple of games. It was flipped from wins and losses to wins in a couple of their games. But Syracuse I think they're the most likely team that can make a run and save their season.
If Syracuse were to do that, man, chaos.
Again,
I gotta believe Wake is out.
The Jim Boeheim Angels will rear its head again.
The ghost of Jim Boeheim.
It's possible. It is possible. The level of parity that is in the ACC this year, that is a possibility. And the one thing that gives me pause is that both North Carolina and Duke are both susceptible to a moment. They both have that in them.
They both can be beaten.
They have that in them. And
nobody is. Yeah.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. Nobody is safe. This is going to be an interesting ACC tournament. It's on paper it looks like it's going to turn out to be North Carolina Duke, but it never does. So,
but we also they will be playing in Charlotte. So
no, they're in DC.
They're in DC. I'm sorry, they're in DC this year.
Yeah.
So
they don't have that home court advantage.
They don't have the home court this year.
That's good to know.
Actually, they still do have the home court advantage if you just look at the teams playing it.
They'll drive. They'll drive.
It ain't that far.
They'll sleep right in front of the White House until the start of the game. All right, well that's our bracketology. We it's going to be interesting on both sides of the bracket of men and women's. I do think that the ACC women's teams are interesting, and if they could get hot, the momentum could, because I think ACC women's teams are hard to prepare for. In a one-game scenario, I think they're hard to prepare for. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I think that I've said this before, maybe the hardest team to prepare for is going to be Notre Dame on the women's side. I don't know how you get ready for Hidalgo. Like that's
right. They definitely have the most difficult player to prepare against.
Oh my goodness!
And even though I said I was talking about how Virginia Tech is inconsistent. When Virginia Tech gets rolling, they are a very difficult team to beat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
They can make a run. They made a run last year, but I was just saying, for the sake of that argument, at that point, that when I look at teams that I think who can have a legit chance to win a national championship, they're kind of, I'm skeptical about them. No question. I didn't think they could make it to the Final Four last year, and they proved me wrong. So right.
That was what kind of got me there.
And they could do that again this year.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here looking at the women's deal, just like I was looking at the men. There's only like one game, one or two games that separate 2 through like 8.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a big swing here late if one of these middle teams get hot. they could win it in the ACC tournament as well.
I think the women's is wide open, and I know Virginia Tech and Syracuse, all of them have the double bye, but I don't think the double bye means anything in the women's tournament.
I mean, especially when you consider that Syracuse has the double bye over Louisville because thanks in large part to a horrible call by a referee.
Matter of fact, I'll even go
easily be in that spot.
I'll even go a step further. The double bye might work against some teams because whatever momentum you bring into the tournament, you may lose that having to rest for a couple of days and wait to see who your opponent is. So
and Louisville's last two opponents, they play Florida State tonight, and they have Notre Dame at Notre Dame. So I mean, Louisville could easily fall all the way down.
They fall all the way out of the double bye. So who knows, man? This is.
But the double bye is the top 4 teams, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so Louisville could fall if they don't play better than they have. Louisville could easily fall all the way down to where North Carolina is.
To where they're playing first week.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not out of the realm of possibility they're playing the first week or they just have one bye. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to be decided in the next couple of days.
Yes.
Florida State very much in play for the double bye.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame very much in play for the double bye.
Mm-hmm.
Lot to be decided. I'm very curious to see how this is all going to unfold. And then health always plays a part as well. Everybody's got to stay healthy, of course. All that good stuff. Last question of the show. Your thoughts on the record, because when we return, barring some freakish situation, Caitlin Clark will be the all-time leading scorer in Division I basketball, both men and women. She is 18 points away from passing Pistol Pete Maravich as the all-time leading scorer. Your thoughts on that and what it means?
I mean, congratulations to her. I mean, she's put in the work. I mean, granted, they didn't have the 3-pointer back when Pistol Pete Maravich played. If they did, it probably would be an unreachable record.
Oh, my God. Yeah. But we wouldn't be having this conversation, that's for sure. I don't think.
But I mean, congratulations to her. It's great. It's great for basketball, men's and women's, but especially for little girls, to have somebody to look up to like that. And she seems like she's an upstanding citizen, and she seems like a good person. And so, yeah, congratulations to her. It's exciting. I'll be watching on Sunday to see if she breaks. Of course, she has to break it against the number 2 team in the country. And so
Ohio State.
Yes. So
those 18 points will not be a gimme.
She'll get it. She's gonna get it. But
she doesn't have. Listen, if she doesn't get it, they have no shot of winning that game. So.
Right. But no, congratulations to her. And despite the nonsense that Jay Williams says, it cracks me up that people are brand new to Jay Williams.
Now, what is that? I heard something that he said. What about her?
She can't be great because she hasn't won a championship.
What?
Wow,
that's what Jay Williams said. And I'm like, Jay Williams is a long track record of saying dumb stuff on TV.
He says a lot of crazy stuff. He says a lot of crazy stuff. Jay Williams says a lot of crazy things. She can't.
I don't believe Pistol Pete Maravich won the title either. We're gonna say he's not great.
That doesn't verify whether you're great or not. Whether you win a championship.
No, it does not. So Charles Barkley's not great. Dan Marino's not great.
I mean,
Patrick Ewing,
Karl Malone. Goodness gracious, brother, what are you saying? Reggie Miller is not great. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
I don't get that one.
Patrick won a championship in college.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you probably go back and see, this is the thing. If you go back into all the guys that we just talked about, their history, they may have won a championship somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at some level.
And here's the other side of it. It's more than likely that Caitlin is not going to win a championship.
Right.
Because her team is not constructed
correct
She
to
don't have
win
the
like
players,
that.
players around her.
She just don't right. She don't. It's
compete against
her.
the South Carolinas and the LSU's of the world.
It's her and a bunch of girls named Betty. Like I don't like.
If you put Caitlin Clark on LSU's team,
They go undefeated all 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, I'm just
saying
she would win a championship with one of those teams.
She's doing it the hard way for sure. Let's be clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So she easily could have gone to one of those other schools. She could have.
I don't understand what he's defining as great. Like she's literally all they have, and they're going to be probably a 2 seed. Like, can we put that in perspective? Like, one girl is going to make them. Same thing with Juju Watkins. One girl is going to make them a 2 seed in the women's tournament. That's crazy. So I don't.
You can make the argument that Juju's got more surrounding her than Caitlin does.
I think USC's team is far better than Iowa's team. I don't like anything about Iowa's team beyond her. Like they
got another little guard.
They're not a very skilled group.
But she makes all those other girls.
She makes them so much better.
Yes.
Like she puts pinpoint passes.
Yeah.
She had a pass last night that was more impressive than anything she did last night.
That's the most underrated part of her game. She's an excellent passer.
Yeah, she's an elite passer. Yeah.
And that's what I think is going to translate even better in the WNBA because you're gonna have to respect that part of her game. I don't think the WNBA realize. Obviously, they wouldn't realize it yet, but you're gonna have to respect that part of her game. She's gonna make the right play, I think, as she understands that we're not gonna women aren't just gonna let you shoot all willy nilly. But we said that about Steph Curry, and look what happens. So
just steps out further.
He just steps out further, and just So she's gonna be interesting. But I don't get that comment by Jay Williams. I don't. That's cringeworthy. That's as bad as Cheryl Swoop's comments.
Yes.
That's as bad as Cheryl Swoop's comments.
Swoop, there it is.
She did apologize, though. She did apologize.
Yeah, she did have some doozies, but Jay Williams has a long history of
ridiculousness.
We're not new to his game.
Well, listen, shout out to Caitlin Clark. I think this is an incredible accomplishment. I'll be honest with you. In my lifetime, I didn't think that record. To me, that was one of those records where you don't think it's ever going to be broken, and for her to have done it or about to do it is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So give her all the credit that she so richly deserved and has earned. So, all right, who we shouting out, gentlemen? Who we shouting out?
Go ahead, Charlie.
TCU Orchestra. Amazing performance last night. Of course, our daughter Hope was a part of the orchestra and the viola strings. And actually, I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I was at the University of Florida basketball game watching Anthony Robinson's team, Missouri. They played Missouri last night.
Shout out Shine East. He's number 55 for Missouri.
No, he shot a lot.
He's been in college for a long time.
But it was good.
Long time.
Good trip down and got a chance to at least see a little bit of Hope's concert. So that's my shout out.
Nice. I'll give just a quick shout out. Senior night for U of L women's basketball team tonight against Charlie Seminoles. It's a big game out at the Yum Center tonight. I hate that it's an 8:00 start, but big game out there at the KFC Yum Center between U of L and Florida State. A whole lot on the line as far as the ACC standings go for the ACC tournament. So this will be a huge game tonight. Shout out to Jeff Walls for calling out his players after they lost to Virginia the other day. He congratulated them on being the first UofL women's team to lose back-to-back home games at the Yum Center. He congratulated them on that.
Oh my goodness!
At mid-court after the game. So shout out to Jeff Walls to being the realest one out there.
The realest one, always, every time. Goodness gracious, Jeff. I want to give a shout out to a school that I have kind of championed for years. Plano East in Plano, Texas. They are in the regional finals right now. They are nationally ranked. They're in some publications they're ranked as high as 3, which I don't know if they're undefeated. They're 26-0, so they're playing the best basketball they've played probably in 30 years since. Fun fact: Jimmy King was the last time they were ranked this high, I think.
Yeah, internet.
Time. So we froze there for a second. Or I froze there for a second. Yeah. But yeah, it's impressive. So it'll be interesting to see if they can finish the job. Coach, you got any advice for them on what to do to finish the job?
We're gonna advice. He's 26-0, so whatever he's doing, you need to keep doing.
He said, "Listen, it's really impressive. And they're winning dominantly right now. Like I think they beat their last at least 3 opponents in the playoffs by an average of 23 to 25 points a game. So they're playing some, and as you know, there's no shot clock. So that's impressive, considering.
Well, I hope they don't run up against a team that plays a slow down game. And,
well, you know it's coming. You know it's coming, Charlie.
And then they have to find a way to win in the end.
Yeah. You know it's coming though. That's part of the journey in high school sports these days. In these non-shot clock states. So anyway, but shout out to them. I mean, that's very, very impressive. And then again, shout out to everybody at the Combine. This is going to be a fun 4 days to see young men change their futures simply by running 40 yards without a football.
Gotta get it down to 4-3.
Isn't that crazy? You've played 4 years or 3 or 4 years of college football, and it all comes down to a 40-yard, non-padded, non-carrying football run to decide your fate.
I don't pay attention to the Combine.
It's a wild system, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
It's a wild system, but such is life. So, all right, listen. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy everything that is coming up for you. When I return, I will be a little older, both in age and in marriage. So I will see you guys later.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday and anniversary. You cheated on
right.
me.
I did not. All I did was take advantage of a situation that presented itself to me.
Fantastic.
With that being said, you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us